Hi everybody and big welcome to cEDH TV with a set review of Dominaria United. This is part 2. In part 1 we looked at 102 cards. We're gonna look at, well, what's left. Or well, they haven't spoiled everything. We're up to 172 cards. So this is basically where we left off at this creature, the Keldon Flame Sage, that I think is amazing. We're also not gonna look at everything, we're gonna look at the thing that matters for cEDH. For example, this thing, Protect the Negotiators. Counter target spell unless the controller pays 1 for each creature you control. If this spell was kicked, create a white solar creature token. So we actually looked at the previous creature in the previous video that this could synergize with, and I said that that creature is probably really mediocre. So here we have him, Wrath, Redlight Stalwart. Whenever you cast an instant sorcerer spell, you may tap 2 untapped creatures you control to draw a card. That is still card draw. Like, creature tokens are bad, and well, you can play a lot of hate bears, and the spell we just looked at that is producing tokens with this, like, giving this guy a review, I think actually might be able to pull off something. I'm not super impressed about him, but card draw is always good. But however, you're only on 2 colors, blue and white, I don't know. You know, whenever you see something that involves tokens or lots of creatures in general and +1/+1 and vigilance to all of your creatures like an overrun ability, you're a little bit skeptic. But well, card draw will always work. And in the end, this is a counterspell, and counterspells are usually good. Plaza of Heroes, a land that can tap for colors or tap for colors among legendary permanents you control, or you can use it to cast legendary spells, but you can also use it to give target creature hexproof or legendary creature hexproof and indestructible. Maybe. I guess you could have it inside your commander deck just because you can protect your commander. I'm not against it, but it taps for colorless. I do like that it's being printed because it will help out dual commanders or monocolored commanders, because those decks don't require as many colors, but for 3 or more colors this could be tricky. So I do think it could see some play just because it's some form of one-time use protection for your commander, and that's honestly fine. We have a new Karn. I guess we need to look at the new Karn. Create a tapped power token. Power Stone token. It's an artifact with tap. This mana can only be spent to cast artifact spells, or that's not actually how it's worded, but this mana can't be spent to cast non-artifact spells, which is the same, just worded differently. I like my wording better. -1 and pay any amount of mana. Look at that many cards from top of your library. Put one of those cards into your hand and the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order. That's card draw. Expensive card draw though. Like, you can't cast this the same turn and activate the -1 ability because you probably tap out for this. On the other hand, you cast it, you gain an artifact. -7, you get an emblem with tap and untap artifact you control. This emblem deals 1 damage to any target. So if you really like that ability, here's one of my favorite cards in Magic. Year per Aether Grid, 3 mana enchantment. Tap 2 untapped artifacts you control, deal 1 damage to target creature or player. I think this is better. Well, tapping 1 artifact to deal 1 damage is obviously better, but you can get this into play and have the capability of doing this without being forced to go through the 2 ultimate Karn. I honestly don't like this. Slow, mediocre, planeswalker, typical cEDH, not good. So here's an uncommon Golgari legendary creature, Troll Shaman, Domain. Return target creature card in your graveyard. If the mana value is less than the number of basic land types among lands you control. Otherwise put it into your hand. No, bad. 6 mana, too expensive. Oh my god, it's so cute. Phoenix Chicken. Oh. 1 red mana, Flying Haste. Can't block. Whenever you attack with 3 or more creatures, you may pay red. If you do, return Phoenix Chick from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped and attacking. Oh, it's very cool. I love it, but it's not cEDH. Ah, wait, this is the same thing as something we already looked at. So we looked at a green creature. Let's see. Here we have Defiler of Vigor. So I guess there's a Defiler for everything. I actually think that the green creatures is amazing. And I'm gonna say the exact same thing I said for the green creature about this one. Reducing casting cost is great, and I just have a feeling we're gonna see a version of every color. The red one is probably gonna be amazing. The black one as well, because the black and red are currently the colors in the storm colors. The blue could be good too. On the other hand, I don't know how many you want to play, or if you want to play any of these. I actually think that the green one might be the best one, or the one that we're gonna see most play of, because the green storm decks are playing some very expensive creatures and can actually get away with that. They make it work with the green expensive stompy ritual strange creatures. I guess this one could see... I'm skeptic. I think the green one will see some play. I don't think this will see some play, and I don't think the Grixis colors need it. I think it is more in the way than helping them. So that was a review for all of the Defiler of Fate, the green probably being the best one. What is this? There's no text, I don't know what you do. The Swarm Lord enters the battlefield with 2+1% counters on it for each time you cast it from your commander from the command zone. It's a 5/5. Whenever creature you control with counters on it dies, draw a card. That's not so good. You don't draw more... Wait, oh my god, now I see what it is. Oh, it's a Tyrannid. Oh, okay. For those that don't know, this is a 40k collaboration between Magic and Wizards of the Coast. Or, sorry, Magic and 40k. Collaboration between Games Workshop and Wizards of the Coast. I think it's bad. It's very bad. It's a big stompy creature that draws a card whenever a creature with counters on it dies. You can exploit that with having a lot of creatures with counters in various ways inside the deck and make them die and draw cards, but overall this is very bad. I guess we're gonna see more. This is also not from, as you can see here, it's actually not from the Dominaria United. We're gonna see more cards from the 40k collaboration in the future. Here's a saga I can't read. You may cast an instant sorcery spell with mana value 1 or 2 from your hand without paying its mana cost. That's good. Mill 4 cards. That is also good. I mean, you want to mill yourself for your Underworld Breach. Exile target instant sorcery card from your graveyard. Copy it. You may cast it. Ooh, I kind of like this card. It's honestly pretty good. The thing here is that when you cast this, you get to cast something from your hand that's an instant sorcery with mana value 1 or 2 without paying mana for it. So it instantly pays for itself, more or less, unless you cast something that costs only 1, then you're losing out. But then you get to mill, that's good, and you get to cast something again from your like, it's also a bit slow, but on the other hand, it's like... It's playable, but it's not great. It's not boosting your deck with that much. I like it, but I can really see why people wouldn't play it. I guess we should look at all the legendary creatures, but this one is probably bad. Dominane. Whenever it enters, becomes tapped. The +1 counter on each creature you control with toughness less than the number of basic. No, that's terrible. Very bad. Overrun, legendary commander, bad. Extremely expensive, only 2 colors, and you're only creating tokens when you cast instant sorcery spells. Bad. Oh, this one is actually interesting. When Temporal Lockdown enters the battlefield, exile each non-land permanent with mana value 2 less until this Temporal Lockdown leaves the battlefield. It's a strange board wipe. I don't like it. The reason I don't like it is because the decks that are usually playing things like this are storm decks. And they don't want to remove everything they have. Like, they don't want to remove all their stacks pieces in play. This is good for removing all your opponent's mana rocks. But there is actually a commander that could play this, and that's Sur the Enchanter. Sur the Enchanter just happens to be a white storm deck or sorts that could run into a tricky situation where he can't storm off and win because there are stacks pieces in play. Finding this Temporal Lockdown enchantment is something he's capable of doing, and that could solve the problems that he has with various stacks permanents in play. So I could see Temporal Lockdown going into Sur potentially. But I'm not 100% they would do that even. It's a card you could honestly play if you're on white and you want to remove stacks pieces and you want something that's very universal against enchantments, creatures and artifacts. Lots of non-good cards here. Weatherlight completed. What is that? Legendary artifact, vehicle flying. As long as Weatherlight completed has 4 or more Furies. I recognize 5 Furies. Isn't that the disease something? Oh, correct me if I'm wrong. I really think that's something with Yawgmoth and Phyrexian Furies. Isn't that the disease or... I'm not gonna say I absolutely know what Furies counters lore-wise is here, but I think it has something with Phyrexian and the disease Yawgmoth were toying around with. Yeah, it's a Phyrexian creature in addition to other types, so it has to be something like that. It was a long time since I read the lore. Whenever a creature you control dies, put a Phyrex counter on Weatherlight completed, then draw a card. You can't crew this. So the only way to make this into a creature is by giving it Phyrex counters. It is an enormous amount of card draw for the right kind of deck for only 2 mana, but you need to build it up. It's honestly just too slow. Like what it gives you for the condition, creatures dying, is easy to achieve, and the value for creatures dying drawing a card is good. You'd get to scry if it doesn't have the 7 Phyrex. I hope I pronounce that one there correctly. If you don't have enough tokens, you get to scry. Otherwise, if you have 7 or more, you get to draw a card. It could see some play, but honestly it's too slow. The build up is too slow. You need more. I think it's cool and I like it, but it's not good enough. This one was actually already spoiled. Tristown, evil person, spoiling cards for me. We have another Mons. That's my real name. I actually made a video about something of the sort once. The top 10 commanders I wish were good. We have 2 Mons right now, or we have 2 creatures with the name Mons, and they're both casual. I hate it. This is bad. 4 CMC Menace, and you get to like look at the top card of your library and potentially put it into the battlefield, or you make it goblins. No, bad. It's honestly really bad. Makes me really sad. Make a card that's like Commander cEDH viable with a name Mons, and I would be so happy. We have another thing here. Lots and lots of uncommon commanders, usually really bad. Power and toughness equal to creatures you control. If 1 or more creature tokens would be created under your control, those tokens plus. So it's big and stumpy, and it's producing tokens, which is very cool and cute, but usually really bad in cEDH. Nothing more to say. I'm really sorry that it sounds so negative, but that's the truth. When you usually look at cEDH cards, or look for cEDH cards in sets, the standard is pretty high. I mean, we really expect a lot of value out of these cards for them to be cEDH good, because the power level in cEDH is just so extremely high. There are so many things that are being immediately thrown away. This is kind of cool. So whenever another legendary creature you control dies, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's not legendary, and a 2/2 black zombie in addition to its other colors and types. It's bad. I can't really think of any deck that would want to have this inside their deck. It's like making your legendary commander a little bit more resilient, or running this as the commander, making your legendary creature or some legendary creatures in the deck more resilient, but honestly it is just not good. Hey, Timeless Lotus, legendary artifact, enters battlefield tapped, and you add Vuberg to your mana pool. So I know what all of you are gonna say, that it's a 1-card combo with cEDH, and I'm very famous for playing cEDH. However, in truth, it's not that good, and cEDH don't need it. Because something I talked about previously, the power level among cards are just so extremely good right now that the cards that are being printed have to reach that power level to be good. And this is just too expensive. 5 mana is ridiculously, it's too much. cEDH don't need this at all. It doesn't really help cEDH. Like, cEDH is able to do this already at a much lower CMC cost. Easier to do as well, because this one enters tapped. Now she could search for it, however, once again she has to be a 6/6 to find that. And you can already find things that are doing the exact same thing when cEDH is a 4/4. So it's not good. I would never add it to my cEDH deck, she doesn't need it. I don't think there's a deck out there that would probably need it. It looks cool though. Hey, this one actually looks pretty interesting. Karn's Sylex. 3 CMC legendary artifact enters the battlefield tapped. Players can't pay life to cast spells or activate abilities that aren't mana abilities. I like that. That's actually been proven to be pretty good inside this format. There's another creature that already does this, Yasharn, and Yasharn has proven to be a good hate bear. But you can also tap X and tap this exile cards. This thing destroy each non-land permanent with mana value X or less. Activate only as sorcery. Yeah, I kind of like it. However, it's kind of strange. The deck that wanna play this don't wanna board wipe. So it's like, you like the first ability, but you don't like the second ability. And if you're looking for a board wipe card, you don't want the first ability. Because the decks that do wanna board wipe don't want the first ability. So it's strange. I honestly don't think it's gonna see any play, but the abilities are good. It's also really expensive to board wipe with this thing, so I think the decks that just want to board wipe, they have better options than this. So overall being like, yeah, it's has good abilities, but how the card is ultimately designed makes it bad. Honestly, really good Goblin Tribal card, but Goblin Tribal is not a thing, so this is not a thing. Whenever Goblin dies, you may exile it to a card of your library. If it's a Goblin card, you may cast that card until the end of your next turn. Yeah, it's good, but no cEDH deck really want. Okay, there is actually some Goblin cEDH decks, like with Krenko, so maybe, but no. Lagomos, Hand of Hatred. I do like the name. Human Shaman 1/3 for 3 mana Rakdos. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a 2/1 red elemental creature token with trample and haste. Sacrifice at the beginning of next action. That is bad. Search your library for a card. Put it in your hand and shuffle. Activate only 5 more creatures die this turn. This was going to be like ultra good. And then the condition was like impossible to achieve. Like, okay, it's not impossible to achieve it, like it is possible to achieve that condition, but it's very tricky. You could play this as a commander though, actually. I could see this one work. You build a deck that is extremely... you're filled with creatures that can sack themselves and just enabling this condition very easy, and you can sit and tutor for things. I could see it happen. I could see someone build that. Ultimately, I think it's gonna be pretty mediocre, very gimmicky, tricky, and sometimes you just don't get there. I don't think it's that good. I could see it being put together and executed, but I think it's gonna struggle. I always like when there's a very low CMC to the legendary creatures. A Stain Paranoid Partisan enters the battlefield. Choose a card type other than creature or land. Spells you cast or the type cost 1 less to cast. That's good, but you can't choose creatures. You can't reduce the creature casting cost. You can only decrease enchantments, artifacts, instant sorceries, and planeswalkers. That's sad, but still, that's good ability. You can white, blue, and 1 generic 3 mana exile him, and you return him to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step, so he can flicker out. No, like you can play him. Elsia of the Infinite has a really interesting deck with Sensei's Divining Top, where you want to find a reducer to reduce the casting cost of that Sensei's Divining Top, so you can basically cast the entire library. No, draw the entire library. And the other commanders also want to find reducer. So ultimately, it has a place. It can do something some cEDH decks want to have, but I don't think it's that over the top. It's not that great or busted or anything, but I could see a world where this is being included in some decks because it's doing a good thing. Oh my god, this is good. Once during each of your turns, you may play a land card from your graveyard to cast a spell with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard. If you do, it gains. When this permanent is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, exile it, you gain 2 life. This is a very strange wording. Am I getting this correctly? So if I understand this correctly, you play a land as a land drop from your graveyard, and then you're allowed to cast a permanent spell with mana value 3 or less. Like, is that a condition? That's a positive thing. It's very strange. So it's a combination of Crucible World and a tiny Underworld Breach all in one. I love it. It's honestly great. Now, sure, the thing that's gonna die eventually goes to exile if it dies. Means you can't sit there and loop a Lotus Petal. On the other hand, it wouldn't work to begin with because it's only once each turn, so it doesn't matter. It's not a storm thing, but it's a very strong ability, honestly. Like, you can play fetch lands from your graveyard with this. And as long as you have a fetch land, and cEDH decks contains a lot of fetch land, you always have the conditioner achieved. Having a land in your graveyard, just replaying that fetch land over and over, and rebuilding board states over and over. It's great. Wow. White really needed this for cEDH. White had been falling a little bit behind, but this is a huge upgrade. I can see a lot of various decks that could want to have this, because this is both, I wouldn't say card draw, but if you don't have a land in your hand, which sometimes happens, this will help you with your land drops. Also the part where you're shrinking the deck size, you're removing the lands from your deck, as well, but also like the value train of recasting spells from the graveyard over and over. You can recast combo pieces that have been killed. You gain life, that's cute. The gaining of life is unnecessary and shouldn't be part of this because it's already good enough, but hey, gaining life is always fun. I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. I think this could see play here and there, probably most in stacks decks or permanent focused combo decks that want to be able to rebuild more. Like the part where this is a value engine and a rebuild engine is great because it helps that attrition game plan. You slam your combo pieces in play, people interact and they're gone. You slam this into play and you rebuild your combo pieces and you threaten to win again in this next turn over and over and again. And you need to kill this and you need to kill the, yeah, it's just so great. It could see play in other bigger decks as well. It has flying, Tumna could like that. Amazing. It should see some play here and there, I'm sure of it. It's not auto include. I think there are gonna be decks that are on white that wouldn't play this, but honestly I think most white creature focused combo stacks decks would include this. This is a Djinn with power equal to the number of instant sorceress cards in your graveyard. It's a big and stumpy creature for a little CMC. However, instant sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Kinda already talked a little bit about that. Preferably, you wanna reduce the artifacts casting cost. Still though, it's fine. You could have it inside the deck, but I think it's too weak. I wouldn't. I don't think I'm gonna see anyone play this, but I wouldn't be surprised if someone actually included this card in their deck. But don't play that card. This Djinn, I actually don't think it's that good. Alright, Defiler Flash. Yeah, it's the same thing. +1/+1 and menace until end of turn when you cast a black spell, reducing black casting costs. Yeah, it's good. I don't think, like I said before, I don't think anyone is gonna play, or maybe someone could play the black one, but I don't, maybe someone could play the red one, but I don't think anyone's gonna play the blue one. I think the green one is gonna be the best one because green is the one that can once again use that little special reduction of green things. Domain 5. Draw a card. This ability colors the cards for each basic land type of lands you control. So if you have every basic land type, which it could be achieved, but only 3 lands, as dual lands can achieve both. Like Tropical Island is both forest and island. So that's 2 land basic types in 1 card. So only 3 lands and you can tap this and draw a card. But it's 5 mana. Honestly, I don't like it. A little bit too... a bit expensive. And I think cEDH have better card drawing engines. You want to have cheap card drawing engines because in this game we're playing a really high amount of low CMC fast mana. So you can burst out some fast mana, burst out some card draw to keep on bursting out more fast mana. Now you could make an argument that all the fast mana could burst out this into play, but they are really efficient, fast card drawing spells. For example, Dark Confidant, way better. Only 2 CMC, you draw a card, or you don't actually draw a card. You put a card from your hand from the top of your library into your hand at the beginning of your turn, and that's great. Like slamming this into play turn 2, that's good. This codex demands build up, and that's bad. Oh, Rona is back. Whenever you cast an instant sorcerer spell, each opponent loses 1 life. Aye, cute, that's interesting. You may cast Rona Shouldered's Faithful from your graveyard by discarding 2 cards in addition to paying its other costs. Cool, she works for Shouldered. It's not good. Like, this is a pretty cool card. I like cards that can be cast from the graveyard, but this is bad. It's only a 3/4, and whenever you cast an sorcerer spell, opponents lose life, but that's really bad for cEDH. It's not desired. This is a very cool card. Cast creature spells, put +1/+1 counters on this thing, and when it dies, you may distribute that over. It's basically modular, or similar to the artifact modular, or I think that was the keyword. It had modular when it dies. Distribute its +1/+ counters here and there. I don't like it. It's bad. Building stumpy creature board states are usually bad in cEDH. Anointed Peacekeeper, really bad in a singleton format. On the other hand, if you're going up against an opponent, 3 opponents that are playing the same 1 card, you could name that card, and you're interacting with all of your opponents, but it's only 1 card, it's only 2 more mana, so ultimately not that good. Or well, what it does is good, but it's just doing it too weak. I guess they're trying to make auras a thing here. Ivy, Gleeful Spell Thief. I like it. It's cool. Fairy Rogue. I think fairies are amazing. Flying 2/1. Whenever a player casts a spell that targets only a single creature other than Ivy Gleeful Spell Thief, you may copy that spell. The copy targets Ivy. A copy of an aura spell becomes a token. So this is the idea. You cast one of your aura spells onto one of your other creatures and you get one copy on her. That's not good. It's very cool and I like it, and I want to see auras become stronger, but I don't think they're gonna become a thing just because I want them to become a thing for competitive Commander. Ultimately, I don't think there's anything you could do with this, and I don't see how this could be good in competitive Commander at all. It's bad if you play a Voltron kind of style deck where you cast a lot of spells that draw cards and buff your creature in a form of way, then this could kind of work because you're doubling up on the card draw and you're doubling up on the value. So you cast a spell that gives a creature +1/+1 and then you draw a card. You will copy this and also target Ivy to give her a boost and draw another card, basically turning every spell you cast with that sort of style into double card draw. I like it, but ultimately not that good. Now that's the end actually. We've looked at 172 cards currently. We still have a bunch left, about 100 or so. I think the big winner of this video is absolutely Sarah Paragon. I really like it. I'm happy for white. I do want to see more white boost. I do want to see more cards for white. I think this could go inside a lot of decks. But we have to talk about the winner of this set. And I still think that the winner is going to be Keldon Flame Sage. A red card, absolutely amazing. I love it. I think it's gonna see an enormous amount of play just because of the potential value in both card draw and not paying for the spell that you find with this. And how easy it's going to be to find really expensive spells. Like being able to cast an Ad Nauseam is not gonna be that hard with this little creature. But honestly, this set is getting really powerful. We looked at a lot of really cool cards here. They're honestly really strong here and there. So I honestly have big hopes. There are lots of more cards to look at. I do like the concept that they're going with for this set. And I really hope they're gonna showcase some more white good stuff. Really happy about this one. I honestly might add it for the Cece deck because Cece do wanna hit those land drops. And Cece often wanna rebuild or need to rebuild, and most of the things inside a Cece deck are on a CMC value of 3 or less, so this could absolutely help out rebuilding those things. But in any case, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you're gonna enjoy the last one, which is gonna be part 3, where we're gonna look at the rest of the 281 cards. Until then, take care guys, see you next time.